with this aircraft, there are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Ron, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
What's going on, 7-footers gang? It's your girl Jenna and Jarod here. We are still remote in these COVID times, but the playoffs are almost here, Jarod. Now we are into the single digits of games left to play in the regular season. Can you believe we're here?
I mean, it's crazy, right? The regular season sometimes feels like it's so long, but then you look up and you're like, man, even this one. I mean, everybody's like, oh, shortened season. I'm like, bro, it's only 10 games less. And it's 10 games less in a much more condensed schedule. So we have basketball not damn near. Every night there's basketball. We have no days off. The only breaks we got were during All-Star, was that week off. Otherwise, there's basketball on every night. And Jenna, and we'll get to this is a regular season that's going to come down literally to the last day for not just like a couple teams, for a lot of teams.
Here's the thing, Jarod. We have started out, I just never thought we would be here, where my Lakers are in jeopardy of playing in the play-in tournament.
Can happen.
I'm disgusted.
It could happen.
I'm disgusted.
It could happen.
And you know what else I'm disgusted over, Jarod? While we're talking about disgust, the way you put the show list and the topic, the latest in the LeBron James comments and propaganda. If you listened to last week's episode, you will know what we're talking about. If you didn't, you should definitely go check it out. It's hilarious. I am a LeBron James stan, as you 7-footers fan know, and the King is in the news. The King is in the news a lot, and he's giving out a lot of cryptic messaging, and I am not one to go against my King.
Is he being cryptic, or is he just being straight up? This is what he's saying.
First he comes out and he says, I don't know if I'll ever be 100% in my career. I don't think I will. I don't think it's possible. Okay. All right. Giving us a little dose of, like, sad father time reality, as you put it, that he's undefeated. And then he comes out and all of a sudden has a change of tune and rips the play-in tournament, although he's on record in the past not being a proponent of it, but not complaining about it whatsoever, and kind of just speaking modestly about it. So it's interesting. He calls on whoever created it to be fired. I mean, how would you like to be that person going into work the next day?
I mean, he ain't getting fired. It's fine, but, you know.
Right, exactly. So now James has been irritating the ankle after he returned, and he is going to be sitting out back-to-back games this week. And, again, no timetable. I'm scared. What is going on with the Lakers? Oh, and do we even actually? I'll hold that thought that I was just going to say.
Well, let's break down these two separate statements, right? First one, LeBron saying whoever made the play-in tournament should be fired. Yeah, my guy, when you were the 1 seed or the 2 seed, you weren't complaining about the play-in tournament, right? Same thing with Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic, right? When you have to play in the play-in tournament, you don't like it. When you don't, what do you care? Because it's not affecting you, right? You get your week off rest and you get to roll. Look, LeBron's just mad because the team is faltering, but don't be mad at whoever made this change to the schedule up. Be mad at your teammates for not being able to hold the fort down while you were gone. Hey, it is what it is, my friend. This is a competitive league. Everybody's trying to win. This ain't, this isn't like, I know we all think this because every year that he's healthy, he goes to the finals. Yo, my dude, the finals aren't promised to you, my guy. Like, they're just not. Like, and this is competitive. Everybody wants to win, too. So if you guys aren't healthy and you're not on your game, hey, the road to the championship is going to be tougher this year. Just is what it is. All right, so that's the play-in tournament. Put that aside. Secondly, LeBron saying, I don't know if I'll ever be 100% ever in my career. If I'm not 100%, it don't matter. Folks, we know what this is. This is LeBron James propaganda season. Okay, this is him building the narrative this year, right? Oh, I'm not at 100%. I'm this, I'm that. So that when they get to the postseason, right? And let's say they find a way to repeat and win. LeBron has overcome not being 100%, and all the storylines and all the sycophants in the media, our colleagues who love fawning over this stuff, are going to write all about it. But you guys come to the 7-footers because you know one of us loves that, Jenna. The other one gives you the raw truth. Yo, LeBron, I ain't buying none of that crap you're selling. All right? Ain't nobody want to hear about none of your, well, I'm not, listen, nobody's 100%. Everybody's dealing with injury. Don't want to hear it. Like, it is what it is, my guy. You win, cool, you won. Ain't no thing. You don't, it is what it is. It happens, right? Like, it's just hilarious to me that and listen, kudos to LeBron. He's very good at this, right? Every year it's something. Last year after they won, I want my damn respect. We want our respect. Bro, who doesn't respect you? I don't know what it is you're talking about, okay? But again, this just fuels his annual propaganda tour that he's on, putting all these stories out there, right? Remember when they came back from beating the Warriors down 3-1? I feel like that's the greatest. I'm the greatest player of all time. After that, it's all narrative based. He's constructing and fine tuning and sharpening his legacy, right? And look, do you, LeBron, whatever. Just know I ain't buying none of that bullshit. No one disrespects you, all right? You are, as I've said a million times on this show, and I will say it again. You are one of only 3 men who in the history of this game can lay claim to the greatest player of all time. Like, I mean, it just is what it is. Like, it's you, it's Jordan,
and
it's
reminds.
It's LeBron, it's Jordan, and
I was just gonna say, remind us of who they are.
It's LeBron, Michael Jordan, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's it. Those are the only 3 men that can lay any claim to that. I don't want to hear about anybody else who your GOAT is. That it don't matter. Those 3 are the dudes. Everybody else, listen, y'all. They are like, think about the club. They are at the most exclusive part of the club. Everybody else, y'all trying to get out of them outer rooms. It's cool to even be in the exclusive club. I mean, damn, I ain't in there, right? It's even cool just to be in that club. But these 3 dudes, these are the ones, and LeBron's on that short list. But yeah, this whole, like, I'm not at 100%, blah, blah, blah. And now it's, listen, nobody loves narrative and drama more than LeBron James. He traffics in that stuff. And his fans like you eat that up. But again, I ain't buying it.
Well, let me tell you, I've been eating good because I'm eating all right. I am like sitting over here sweating. He's never 100%. What does he mean?
Please. None of that.
Do this to us?
None of that foolishness.
You know I'm all about this. All about this. And I am like, man. Now, real quick, let's talk about this here because shall we call them the slumping Lakers? Because now they did win on Monday night. However, they're 3-7 in their last 10 games. And now we have LeBron out again, back-to-backs, like I said, for this week. And they are in the number 5 seed. We're in the number 6, tied with the Mavs until they had that win on Monday night. So there is a rather large gap between them and the number 4 seed Clippers. So now we have Dennis Schroeder out. So he is in protocol. And I texted you, Jarod, when this happened. And I said you called this. Again, shameless plug for last week's episode. Jarod talked about how if these guys are being summoned to protocol for, of course, health reasons, COVID, absolutely. However, if this happens coming into playoffs, you miss an entire series. I mean, this is 10 to 14 days. And he reportedly isn't fully vaccinated.
Or vaccinated at all.
He would have to quarantine.
Yeah.
And if you're vaccinated, the league does require you to quarantine for those 10 to 14 days. So I guess that doesn't matter at this point. But now with the loss of him, Dennis, should we be sweating because of that as well?
Look, Laker fans, these next 2 weeks are going to be very dramatic for you all. You're going to be ebbing and flowing with every game down the stretch. Because right now, as you said, Jen, the Lakers are on the 5th spot, right? There is no chance they catch the 4 seed. The Lakers right now are trying to hold on to 5 or 6 so they don't have to play in that play-in tournament. Why is that important? So they can get that week off before the actual playoffs begin, right? That's huge for this team right now. Now, and there's only a game that separates them from playing in that play-in. They're a game out from being 7, which is where Portland is. And listen, The Warriors, they are only 4 games back of the Lakers. And with Steph Curry being the human torch right now, that dude just go nuclear the next 4 or 5 games. They go 4-5-0. Lakers do go 2-3. We got some problems. Things are looking real shaky, right? So the Lakers not having Schroeder right now is going to hurt them. What the Lakers need to do is what they did Monday night against the Nuggets. Because offensively, and Anthony Davis being back, and he played better Monday night, but defensively, this has been the number 1 defense in the NBA all year. They're going to have to stick to that over these next 2 weeks, and really guard the hell out of everybody they play. And in many ways, Lakers, if you want to avoid the play-in, playoffs for you start now. You are already in playoff mode without LeBron James, all right? Every night, you've got to be guarding everybody hard because that's how you're going to win and avoid playing in that play-in tournament. Because I'm telling you, if they get stuck in the play-in tournament, anything can happen in the play-in tournament, right? They drop the 7, they have to, they lose a game. Well, now they have to win it. It's just they only have to win 1 if they drop to the 7 or 8. But still, man, like it's no easy pickings out there. So yeah, if I'm a Lakers fan, be concerned. But
no, and
I was just gonna say, if I'm a Lakers fan,
too,
be
go ahead.
Be hopeful or lean your hat on the fact that you have the number 1 defense. Like that's what has been your calling card when you won the chip last year. That has been you've been number 1 all season with people in and out of the lineup. You still maintain the number 1 defensive rating in the league. That is where I would hang my hat if I were a Lakers fan right now. Gosh, got to guard people.
Mm-hmm. And that play-in tournament too. They want to avoid that, of course, obviously, because injuries are stacking up for them. And that is obviously the position you don't want to be in if you want to rest before the postseason. So, again, we'll have to see about that. But really quick, before I ask you about another particular Laker, because you brought up Steph Curry, did you see the memes online that were like, it's Steph like laughing and like shaking his shoulders, and it's like, y'all were laughing at me when we were like in the 8th seed, the 9th seed, like let's go.
Lakers and Warriors fans always gonna have fun trolling each other back and forth, right? Like, listen, the NBA is a fluid situation, right? Like, what was once does not always maintain, right? Nobody stays on top forever. Every team is one superstar injury away from disaster. Listen, it is what it is, man. Like, and in this season especially, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Who will have 9 people able to stand upright come July? Right? Which team will have 9 dudes that can stand straight come July? That's the team that you need to be looking at. Is okay, these are the guys who can have health luck and be relatively healthy. Because again, no one's 100%. Which team can be the most healthy as we move along? That's who's going to win this thing, man. It is what it is.
Heck yeah. And a lot of role players are going to need to step up with James out of the lineup, Schroeder out of the lineup, and hopefully no one else, fingers crossed. But role players, okay, Andre Drummond, as long as he doesn't break any other toenails or nothing else pops off down there in the shoes, he should be good to go. So what is your evaluation of him, and what pivotal role does he need to play, especially now, because like we said, the postseason really for the Lakers starts now. They need to go into a automatic grind mode.
Defense, rebound, and clean up around misses on the offensive end and putbacks for dunks. That is your job, my friend. Now the challenge with Drummond is that, and we saw this in the game Monday night against the Nuggets, Drummond is not a floor spacer as a center, right? So when he plays with Anthony Davis, that clogs the lane up, right? And doesn't allow for good spacing, which makes the Lakers easier to defend. You put Marc Gasol out there who can shoot threes, all of a sudden that brings the opposing big man away from the basket. That allows Anthony Davis the opportunity to operate and do his thing, right? And look, for the Lakers to win, Anthony Davis is going to have to be excellent on both ends of the floor like he was during last season's run. And, he's working the rust back off after missing all those games. Mm-hmm. And with Andre Drummond, you just need time. But, and we'll talk about this when we get to this team. It's like the Nets. Yeah, everyone needs time to work together, but time is not something you have the luxury of right now. We got 8-9 games to go. And if you don't have to plan, which the Nets obviously don't, they'll be one of the top seeds. You got that week off to practice and work on stuff together. That's it, man. That's just what it is. And you got to roll with what you got heading into the postseason.
Yeah, and speaking of the postseason play-in tournament, before we get into that, I can't believe you didn't know this was coming. Jamal Murray.
Oh, Lord. I can't. I can't. You are such a sucker for these silly-ass stories. Yes, folks, if you aren't watching, Jamal Murray, who had ACL surgery in L.A., which is where the Nuggets were playing Monday night against the Lakers. He came by to see his team in the hotel, and he sat on the bench during the game. He came out with his one crutch limping around. I'm sure Jenna's getting all the feels, all that. Yeah, okay, great. I mean, all jokes aside, I'm sure it was nice for the guys to see Jamal and for Jamal to be around the guys again. But, you know, the Nuggets are rolling, you know? So Monday night's loss notwithstanding.
The thing with, I got so emotional, obviously, because that's me, but it was nice to see, because if you think about it, Jarod, on a real note, for real, guys who go through these types of injuries, the ACLs, anything of that kind of nature that is dreadful like that, they don't come around. They don't come around.
Yeah.
They're rehabbing immediately. They are in their zone, and that's just something that the guys do. But and I get it. He was in LA. They played LA, but still, it was nice to see. But, you know, I shed a few tears over that. Jamal Murray, we love you. Wishing you a speedy recovery, my friend. But let's move on here. Let's talk about the play-in tournament for real, because like we have been preaching, the East is not as deep as the West, but it is damn competitive. So let's start there really quick. I'm going to break this down for you for 2 seconds now, because this play-in tournament can get tricky. A lot of people don't know what the hell is going on. So basically, in a nutshell, the 7th and 8th seeds will face off, as the 9 and 10 seeds in each conference will face off as well. The winner of the 7-8 game will advance to the first round, and the loser will play the winner of the 9 and 10 game. This is all going to determine who makes the postseason, of course, and they have, of course, 2 shots at it. But it's in such a crunched time. It only lasts 2 days, this little tournament, and then the postseason begins literally right after it. So it is crucial for teams to escape this play-in tournament, because they don't get any rest if they have to play in it. So that's that. Again, health is a key factor this season, and in this postseason, it's going to determine so much. So let's talk about the East now, Jarod, because again, he wonderfully broke it down for you girl over here, so I don't have to look at these numbers, because y'all know I don't do the math. I hate it. It really hurt me to explain that just now. I hope it was right, Jarod.
All good.
But let's talk about the Celtics, because Celtics are on fire. Scary collision the other night between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but they should be on the mend. Brown has a light ankle sprain, I believe, after that collision, but we should be good in Boston to roll. And we have the Hornets contending the Pacers, the Wizards. Wow, I can't believe it. So let's talk about it, because the margins, as Jarod likes to say, are extremely thin. I love when I get to use one of yours.
No doubt.
So, hit me. Let's go.
So
let's go, Celtics, baby.
Looking at the East right now, right? The Celtics are in the 7th spot right now, as of today, of this recording. Hornets are 8th. They're 2.5 games back of the Celtics. Wizards are 9th. I'm sorry, the Pacers are 9th. They are 3.5 games back of the Celtics. And the Wizards are 4 games back, and they're in 10th. All right? Okay, as Jenna said, if it were to end today, here's how it would work. The Celtics and the Hornets would play. The winner of that is the 7 seed, right? So they would end up playing the Brooklyn Nets, right? Because the Brooklyn Nets are currently 2 seed. The loser of that 7-8 matchup would play the winner of the 9-10. 9-10 is the Pacers and Wizards. Whoever that happens to be, the winner of that game then moves into the 8th seed. This is all so fascinating, Jenna, because it literally is all up for grabs right now. Miami is they're the 6th seed right now, so they're currently out of the play-in, but they're only a game ahead of the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics didn't catch them. It's only a game. And by the way, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero not playing tonight, so the Heat could lose tonight, and they lose. Guess what? They're in a tie with the Celtics now for 6. I mean, this is the level of intrigue we're going to have going down to every game at the end of the season. And, you know, it's just so fascinating. But Indiana right now, you know, they're struggling. They're 4-6 in their last 10. It's been a rough time for them. And, you know, if you're the Brooklyn Nets and you're currently in the 2 seed, I mean, honestly, none of these teams at the bottom in the play-in scare you. I mean, Boston, just because they have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, can make a series interesting. And we'll get to the Wizards in a minute, just because anytime you got two guys that are, all-star to all-NBA caliber, they could be the best players on the floor on any given night and cause problems. Now, of course, Brooklyn, all things being equal, if they are healthy, or as healthy as they can be, they're rolling into every series with most likely the three best players in every series they play, right? So so none of those teams, I think, will scare Brooklyn or Philly for that matter, but it may make your first round just more difficult than it has to be. The people who seem to be pretty, and look, not even the Hawks are in fifth right now. They're only a game and a half up on the Celtics, who are in seventh. So again, folks,
Isn't this crazy?
The only people in the Eastern Conference who are safe, who have nothing to worry about as it relates to the play-in tournament, are the Sixers, Nets, and Bucks. They are clearly far ahead of everybody else and will not fall into that. But the rest of those teams, even the Knicks, as well as the Knicks are playing, hottest team in the league right now, 9-1, they're only 3 games up on the Celtics. I mean, right? So anything can happen. You can move around in there. So I just think it's fascinating. And for the casual fan, Jenna, I think this gives the regular season some cachet at the end, right? Normally, the last 2 weeks, everybody's sitting around going, oh, can we just end this regular season and start the playoffs? Well, now it's like, no, these games matter. You lose 2 in a row, shit, we're going to be in that play-in. Or maybe we win 2 in a row, ooh, we moved ourselves out of the play-in. I mean, it's going to be jockeying for positioning and seeding because, look, seeding is going to matter. And, look, I think ultimately in the East, it's only the top 3 teams. Those are the only teams that realistically have a viable shot to get out. But I'll tell you what, none of those top seeds want to see the Celtics in round 1 or the Heat in round 1 or the Washington Wizards in round 1. As terrible as the Wizards have played all season, man, they have been on a roll lately, Jenna. And, I mean, 8-2 in their last 10. Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook have been lighting things up. We'll talk about Russ in a minute. I mean, again, I don't think they're going to beat any of the top teams, but Brad and Russ can easily be the best players on the floor in any series for a night or 2. That's 2 wins. Well, now you're playing 6 games instead of a sweep, right? And what that means is, as a top seed, you're working extra hard when you shouldn't have to in the first round. What does that mean? That takes energy out of you for the next round when you have to play tougher competition, right? And does that cumulatively add up and make you lesser come the Eastern Conference Finals and the NBA Finals? So this is all fascinating.
It really is. The East, this is what makes the East fun. Although we have those top 3 teams that it's likely going to come down to, of course, the competition underneath that is so thin. And even if the end result isn't something insane for these teams, seeing these teams compete, especially like you just said, you don't want to face Miami in the postseason any other time, but not the postseason. And like teams like the Wizards, the Knicks, surprising us. I mean, especially the Wizards. I mean, we would be robbing the people if we did not mention Russell Westbrook and his 21 boards, 21 assists game versus the Pacers the other night, securing another triple-double average, of course, for the 4th time in his career. And listen to this. I love a good statistic. He has 178 triple-doubles, 3 short of Oscar Robertson in his career record, with 7 games remaining in the season for Washington. And he notches these triple-doubles by the 3rd quarter in most of the games. That is out of control. And the fact that we do this all the time, we do it with Steph Curry, we do it with other people. I'm not going to get into the topic of greatness, but this is something to talk about. Although the Wizards are arguably to others a dumpster fire, who are just on a great roll right now, they're making the season count.
Yeah.
I mean, the backcourt in Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal alone is the star power, the greatness of that in itself, and it just happens to be on a team that is lacking so much, which that's another whole podcast for another day. But yes, Russ, had to give you your flowers there, my guy.
No doubt. I will add this, and everyone who listens to this podcast or any of my other work knows, like, I am a Westbrook critic, right? I am often critical of Russ's game. But I explained last week and I'll explain it again this week. My critique of his game is because when we're talking about players of his caliber, 9-time All-NBA, former league MVP, when you are deciphering greatness among that caliber of player, he ain't some regular run-of-the-mill all-star or some above-average NBA starter, right? He, based on the accolades he's earned in his career, is an all-time great. So the critique of all-time greats, right, is at a different level than it is of just your regular player. I will say, all the triple-doubles that he has, and you mentioned the stat number, 170-something, his teams overwhelmingly in the regular season win the majority of those games, right? They win something like 70 to 80% of those games. So the idea that the triple...
Maybe it's 75 or something.
The triple-doubles that don't lead to wins is actually a false narrative. That's not actually true, right? Because they win a ton of regular season games. And Russ, as he said multiple times, no one does what I do. And it's true. The fact that 4 out of 5 his last 5 seasons, this dude has averaged a triple-double. That is insane. I mean, the level of energy you have to do that, to grab rebounds, right, as a guard, right, and attack the way he does. It is something to marvel and behold. I mean, this is clearly a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, like all the things. Like, he is all of those things. And he should be celebrated for that. I think, again, when you're getting into the nitpicking and critiquing stage, right, where you critique him is, okay, those things are all well and good, but, and it's, I've said it before, championships and all that stuff, it's hard to win those. How do you construct a roster around him where you're able to capitalize on those talents, right, on that relentlessness? Because arguably, not since he was on a team with Kevin Durant and James Harden has he been on a team where he can utilize what he does so well to help win and lead to a championship. I mean, those kids were 23 when they went to the finals against the Heat in 2013 or 12, whatever year that was, right? So, I mean, they were young, but and everybody thought, man, they're going to be going back forever. They never made it back again as a group, right? And it's because, again, hard to win in this league, all that. But that's the kind of team you need around him, right? Other awesome elite shooters, because that's the part where Russ still struggles, right? Like, in the postseason, teams know, okay, he's going to grab his monster numbers. We really can't stop him doing anything to stop that. But if we kind of wall off like they do with Giannis and don't let him get to the rim, force him into pull-up jumpers and threes, we like our odds, right? That means we'll win. That shot selection is often poor, right? The Warriors said it multiple times. I mean, when they play him, and teams just know that's the way that you beat Westbrook. But again, that's something different. That's a different part of his game. But what he's done from just his sheer heart, energy, and how he approaches and plays the game, I mean, you can never say anything wrong about this man. And he's a hell of a player, and Russ has just been phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. So phenomenal that after the game, Wizards coach Scott Brooks said he's the 3rd best point guard of all time.
I mean, look, we can get into debates about who's better, who's what, who's this, who's that. I mean, again, as I said, Russ, surefire, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the great point guards of this generation. I mean, we've had a hell of a lot of great point guards this era. And Russ is singular in that way he's able to attack the game with such force. And it's truly a sight to behold.
Heck yeah, it is. All right, let's move over to the West because it is deep as hell in the West. Obviously, we keep repeating that on this podcast. But the seeding there for 7-10 is Blazers, Warriors, Grizzlies, Spurs. I mean, right out of that lineup, I'm obviously picking the Warriors because of how Steph Curry has been playing. But this could be a tight race as well because all of these teams are grinders. They really, truly are. They're fun to watch. Yeah,
I mean, the West is stacked, right? Blazers in 7, Warriors 8, Grizzlies 9, Spurs 10, right? And, the way it stands right now, the Blazers are a half game, only a half game behind the Mavericks, who are the 6th seed. And the Warriors, the Warriors right now, they're about 3 games behind Portland, and Portland's in 7. So can the Warriors catch up to Dallas and get into the play-in? Get into the regular playoffs and not worry about the play-in? Not likely. Portland has a shot, though, to avoid the play-in. And this is what that Laker conversation we talked about earlier, because the Lakers do play Portland later this week, right? And this is a big week for a lot of teams. You go on a run, you can kind of give yourself a little breathing room and distance to cement yourself into that top 6 so you don't have to play that play-in, so you get that all-important week of rest, which is going to be so key for these teams. I mean, but yeah, Steph Curry, I mean, look, let's say that everything stays where it is right now, 7-8, no matter who the 7 is, let's say it's the Lakers. Do the Lakers want to see Steph Curry in what is essentially for them, it'll be double elimination? Because, listen, let's say the Lakers lose that game because Steph just goes bonkers because they can't stop him. All right, well, the Warriors are now in. The Lakers now have to win another game against Memphis or San Antonio, which, okay, you're like, they could beat those teams, but it's making the road harder than it has to be. Now, Lakers are playing late into this play-in tournament, and they have to turn around in probably, 24, 48 hours and start the playoffs. Again, with questionable health, with LeBron, Dennis Schroeder, it's a lot to ask. And this week, especially with LeBron not playing any of these games this week, it's going to be incumbent on the Lakers to do what they got to do. And look, Portland's got their work cut out for them as well. The Warriors are kind of feeling pretty good right now, 6-4 in their last 10. Of that group in the bottom, they're playing the best right now. Memphis has been faltering a little bit. San Antonio's been about 500. Listen, this is what Adam Silver hoped when he initiated the play-in tournament, was that it would make the last couple weeks of the regular season interesting. And Jenna, it's beyond interesting. I mean, we have so many, because seeding hasn't been decided yet, and and we'll get to this when we talk about the top half of the conference. The placings haven't been decided there either, right? How are you playing to avoid this team and avoid that team? Look, in the West, you can't avoid anybody. If you're getting out of the Western Conference, you're going to have to beat 3 really good teams to get out and get to the finals. You're just going to have to. That's just how it's going to be.
It is going to be a fun and anxiety-filled ride, Jarod. That is all I can say. I mean, the sweat is going to be real. The tears are going to be real.
Yeah, these guys are sweating for sure.
Yeah, a lot of them are sweating over here on these streets. But hey, it is what it is. That's why you're on the highest stage. So let's shift gears a little bit and turn it around a little bit. Let's go to the top, starting with the Eastern Conference again. Now, the Nets were number 1 in the East at one point when they were healthy enough. Now they can't even get their big 3, for lack of better words, on the floor together. We have Harden, who suffered that setback with the hamstring that was supposed to sideline him for 10 days. Now Nash says he might not be ready for the start of the playoffs. So they are 2 games behind?
One game behind
76ers?
Philly. 1 game behind Philly.
Game?
But
Yes.
that's essentially 2 because Philly has a tiebreaker. So yes, 2 in reality because of the tiebreaker, but 1 in the standings.
Right. And again, can't get the Nets fully healthy. Giannis just returned from a little ankle injury there, and we still have the 76ers up in the top there, taking the number 1 seed so far, but that can change in the blink of an eye. Hit me, what's happening? Because we do have the night that we're recording this and the Bucks face off, so that could change and shuffle things up too.
No doubt. So I think Philly right now is the inside track to keep that number 1 seed because the rest of their schedule's pretty easy. I mean, they're playing Houston, Orlando twice, Cleveland. They're playing the dregs of the NBA. Teams that are not playing for anything. They're not playing for play-in. They're not playing for playoff. They're playing some pretty bad teams. Whereas the Nets have good teams left on their schedule. They have, as you mentioned, Game 2 against Milwaukee tonight. They have the Denver Nuggets and Dallas Mavericks later this week, right? I mean, all teams vying for the playoffs, right? And seeding within the playoffs, right? So this is not going to be an easy road for Brooklyn to get that 1 seed. What I think is so I think Philly's got the inside track on locking that 1 seed. For Brooklyn, here's what's important. You could argue all season long they've had adversity because of the injuries and people being out of the lineup, but they've kind of managed to still be at the top of the conference. I think tonight's game against Milwaukee will be really telling. And what I mean by that is, if they lose this game, that'll be now 3 games in a row they've lost, right? First time they've done that in quite some. I don't think it's either the first time they've done it in a long time,
February.
or first time since February.
Since February,
a long time for them to lose 3 in a row as they head towards the postseason. And you know what's going to happen in this pressure cooker that is a New York market that we live in. The headlines All the morning shows, they're going to be going nuts. Oh, we told you this team couldn't handle it. Blah, blah. All the noise is going to start. And we know Brooklyn, in particular Kevin Durant, is one who listens and reads and hears all that stuff, right? What is the conversation going to be like, right? They lose 3 in a row. What's that chemistry going to be? These are the questions that people are going to start poking and asking. So tonight's game is so critical, right? Not because if they lose it, oh, they're done, they're not going to do anything. It's just more about if they do lose, how do they handle it? How do they respond as a team when they've got the Mavericks on Thursday night and then the Nuggets on Saturday, right? How do they respond to that? I think that will be so telling for this team. And it will also be telling if the Nets come out tonight and win. And then you're like, oh, well, see, when this team's playing, you're like, they're pretty good, right? They know what they're doing. So I think this is a very interesting little stretch for this team right now. Steve Nash and that Brooklyn squad is really going to see in a mini way this week what this team is really about and what they're made of and how committed they are to this thing. I think this week will be telling for them.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that loss to the Bucks the other night was a tough one for them. So,
which, by the way, I mean they didn't play well, and they were a Kevin Durant 3 from pushing it to overtime. I mean that's also the other side of this, right? So if you're the Nets, you're like, man, we really didn't play that well, and we still really could have won that game or forced it to overtime. So they're a team that operates with a very different margin than a lot of other teams, but they don't want to take that for granted.
No, definitely not. And also what we don't want to take for granted is the benefit of when James Harden is on the floor. When he is on the floor, the percentages for this team are drastically different. So before we go and write the Nets off, if he returns, we could see a huge shift and a gap happening for the Nets in a good way. So
well, yeah, I mean,
we shall see.
Yeah, you're returning another All-NBA player, right? So now you have 3 All-NBA dudes. It's like, all right, look, we're pretty good now, right? And then James can be, right, the lead guard, getting everybody else involved. Kyrie can move to the off ball and just do his Kyrie things. And, Kevin Durant, the most malleable superstar in the history of the NBA. It doesn't matter what system or what superstars or who you put next to him. The dude just gets buckets. Like that. He's like, all right, I'm going to just score 40 tonight. That's just what I do, right? Like that. It doesn't really matter who he plays with. He just does what he does, right? So I think that's it. It'll all be interesting to see how that plays out. But yes, James Harden, if he's back, this is why everyone thinks they could win a championship, because you have those 3, and we know how the playoffs work, Jenna. They come down to when teams know all your sets and they know how to disrupt you and go to your 3rd and 4th option. When you need someone who can just create and get that bucket and shoot it in the mid-range because your 3s aren't open and the paint's walled off, they have, 2-3 of the best mid-range shooters in the history of the NBA on their team. I mean, that's kind of nice. That's a nice win for them.
Jeez. Oh, man. We got to go to the West before I start sweating over here. Let's talk about the West now. Who is going to be the number 1 seed? Why are we not talking about the Jazz? Why are we not talking about the Suns? And we're only focused on the Clippers and the Lakers. We're not even talking about the Nuggets. However, the first 3 top-seeded teams are the teams I just named, Jazz, Suns, Nuggets. So what is the deal here, Jarod? Are the Jazz going to hold on to the number 1 seed, or are the Suns, the red-hot Suns, going to come and sweep it from underneath them?
You know what might be interesting, Jenna? The Phoenix Suns might mess around and end up getting that 1 seed. They're only a half game back of Utah right now, and I believe they have the tiebreaker in the season series. Utah, as we know, dealing with injuries, right? Donovan Mitchell's still out. Mike Conley's been sort of in and out of the lineup. Phoenix is just kind of cruising along. The point guard, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, right? Everybody's kind of just like, and Jay Crowder isn't even back yet, and he's going to be such a big piece for them come the postseason. Listen, Phoenix could sneak right in there, grab that 1 seed, home court throughout. That's a beautiful thing. And right now, it's going to come down to those 2 teams, right? Denver's 4 games back of Utah and 3.5 behind Phoenix. I don't know that Denver will catch them. Look, they could. Anything's possible. But that's going to require, Phoenix and Utah above them to lose. I think really the 1 seed is there for Phoenix to take it. And I think just with the way the schedule's left, I think they could do it. Look at Denver's remaining schedule. They got the Knicks, they got Utah, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Minnesota, Detroit, Portland. Okay. So the Knicks game, going to be tough. Utah, going to be tough. Brooklyn, going to be tough. So they got 3 tough games, right?
Yeah.
Charlotte's still going to be fighting for something because they're trying to figure out their situation in the play-in tournament. Minnesota, well, we know what they are. Detroit, we know what they are. But then they end the season with Portland. That game might matter for Portland. Portland might need to win that to jump into the 6th seed, or who knows? So of the remaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, 5 of them are going to be against teams that are playing for something. That's tough. That is real tough. And, I just don't know. And it's going to be a lot. And by the way, kudos to Denver playing so well without Jamal Murray. We mentioned 9-2, I want to say, in their last 11 games. I mean, they're really, really playing some good ball. Michael Porter Jr. he's playing like he's a number 2 option in this league. We love Michael Porter Jr. here. He's so talented. I mean, he's just, and actually, little tease of some work I'm going to do. Next week's True TV video might have something to do with Michael Porter Jr., so stay tuned for that. But, I think it's the Phoenix Suns. I think Phoenix, they kind of have the track right now. Although Utah's schedule's a little bit easier. Chris Paul, man, that dude, how Chris is. Chris is the quintessential, when you were little and you were playing ball, and there would be the one kid who was, uber competitive, and when the game wasn't going his way, he would just, well, it's his ball. He's taking his ball and going home. That's Chris. You know what I mean? That is Chris Paul. And I just the Suns' remaining games: Cleveland, Atlanta, New York, Lakers, Warriors, Portland, San Antonio. So for Phoenix, they don't have an easy road coming down, right? Cleveland, okay, that's a nice one. They could win that. Atlanta's playing for something. Knicks playing for something. Lakers definitely playing for something. Warriors, Blazers, and the Spurs twice. So Utah would seemingly have the inside track because of their schedule, but Donovan Mitchell's not healthy. So we'll see what that looks like.
That's what makes me nervous. Donovan Mitchell needs to come back too, because you know how I feel about D-Mitch. Come on now. I can't take all this. I can't do it. I just knock it off, guys. Knock it off. Damn it. Speaking of Chris Paul really quick. Literally, knock it off. Speaking of Chris Paul really quick, I read an interesting article, I don't know if you saw this, by The Athletic, that they reported that the Sixers, before he went to the Suns, the Sixers had really made a play at him,
no doubt,
and thought that they had it in the bag. And he apparently was not interested whatsoever, and again went to the Suns. I just think it's so funny to think about, what if? Could you imagine? The 76ers are already number 1 in the Eastern Conference.
What would they do if they had Chris Paul? It's interesting, right? Because the idea there would be they likely would have given up Ben Simmons, right? In order to that's how that trade would have worked.
But you're not thinking about the future, in my opinion.
Well, you're not thinking about the future, number 1. Number 2, Chris also didn't want to be too far away from his family, who lives in L.A. still. Well, you ain't getting much further away from L.A. than Philly, right? That's the other side of the country. So that was a big play in it, right? But yeah, it would have been interesting to see a Joel Embiid, Chris Paul, Tobias Harris, Seth Curry, Danny Green team, right? As opposed to Ben Simmons, right? Because you're gaining and losing. Obviously, Simmons' versatility and size, switching 1 through 5, that would hurt you some defensively, though Chris Paul is no slouch defensively. But on the offensive end, your offense would be considerably better because Chris is a plus offensive player, right? He's someone who can create his own shot, hit the mid-range, which is what you need to do in the postseason, right? And we know we've talked about Ben's issues ad nauseum here. So it would have been interesting. Look, right now, Jenna, as it relates to the playoffs, if you're looking at matchups and what these teams don't want, if we go back to the East really quick, Miami's sitting in that 6th spot. If Milwaukee stays in 3, Milwaukee wants no part of Miami in round 1. I mean, we saw what happened last year, right? Milwaukee is better this year for sure, and Miami has been sort of teetering. But the way Miami plays is going to make it more difficult than it needs to be. If you're Brooklyn, do you want to see the Washington Wizards in round 1? Probably not. The whole Russ KD
Uh-uh.
thing and Bradley, and it's just that's not the first round matchup you want to see.
I'm gonna just say you don't want to get embarrassed by the Wizards
You certainly don't.
at all.
You certainly don't.
I mean, look what happened to the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing having to do with the Wizards, but y'all know what happened to the Clippers.
And if the Warriors find their way in that 8 seed and you're the Jazz and you're the 1 seed or you're Phoenix, it's like, okay, the rest of that team's not great, but damn, Steph Curry, that dude could just go nuclear, and he could win games by himself, which he essentially does. It's just, so there are matchups, and then of course everyone's doing the whole thing. You want to avoid the Lakers in round 1. You want to avoid the Lakers in round 1. Maybe not, right? Like again, this team, yes, the caveat for everybody is when healthy. Well, no one's healthy right now, so we have no idea what this looks like. But what we might be destined for, Jenna, in round 1, a Lakers-Clippers showdown in round 1 is on the table. That could be, woo! We wanted it in the conference finals last year. This year we might get it in round 1.
Please.
Battle for LA.
Exactly. This is what we're waiting for. Adam Silver, make it happen, damn it. Make it happen.
Battle for LA could be interesting. Yeah, it's a wild finish to the end of this regular season. Very wild.
Oh my God, you gotta love it. I want to talk about wild here. Let's talk about a few quick hits here, because you girls got the latest tea on Kendall Jenner and Devin Booker. I mean, man, he's chasing that number 1 seed, but he's got the number 1 gal in NYC. That's it. They've been running around NYC like crazy. Let me tell you, in one day, they hit up 2 Italian spots.
2?
2
Wow.
Italian spots. Yeah, Bar Pity.
Okay.
Really popular in New York City.
It's very nice.
Stars.
Mm-hmm.
As is Carbone, where
Yes,
they went out to dinner and she
of
wore
course.
an incredible camel leather outfit while they held hands on the streets of New York City. Reports say she's never been happier.
I mean,
And he's chasing the number 1 seed. Shame you, Kardashian Kurtz. Shame you.
I mean, she is a fashion. She is a model, but I mean, not all models like dress well when they go out. Like Kendall dresses really well when she you know what I mean. Like I don't think I've ever seen her in a bad outfit. Like I'm like, all right. Like homegirls always. I'm like, yep. I see you.
Do you want to know what I think about though? Okay,
What?
so really quick before we talk about other people in the league, I think about this on a daily basis. Like, so the Suns were in town this week, and they were all around New York City because they were playing the New York teams, whatever. And we've seen her and Devin Booker out on a number of occasions, of course. Like I just said, they hit up 2 Italian restaurants in one day. I mean, Jesus, how do you have the time? Not to mention traveling in New York City. I mean, and they're taking car service. So, like, that must have been a long time. Where I'm getting at with this story is, does Devin Booker stay at the team hotel when he is here, or does he go to Kendall Jenner's apartment loft, wherever it is that's $1 billion gajillion dollars in the city? Now, I just asked that because I'm sorry. I know you're the star of the team, but you want to hang out with your model girlfriend while we're on a road trip? Like, not that I'm trying to stir the pot, but I'm just saying. Like, I wonder.
Well, I think based on league protocol rules, I don't think he's allowed to stay outside of the team hotel overnight. Right? Like, so I'm sure he, this is a PG show. I'm sure they get it in when they can, but I don't think he sleeps at her apartment based on just the NBA protocol rules. I think he has to be like back in the hotel.
I wonder what also, like, the hours are, if there are any hours. Like, what if he's having, like, a late night at Kendall's? And, like, they're having, like, Netflix and chill, and they're watching a really good murder documentary, and they have to watch it, and he's there until, like, 5 a.m. If he gets back by 6, does that still count? This is the shit that goes on in my head. I wish I wasn't like this.
Shouts to booking
wanna be like this,
Kendall.
but-
Young kids in love. It's a beautiful thing.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. 2 very great-looking, stylish kids in the most all due respect. But, I mean, their magazine covers, I mean, hers anyway.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually got new ones on Vogue. Check them
Yeah,
out.
I saw
I'm sure he did.
British Vogue.
So,
Yeah, that's British Vogue.
Gotta love it, KJ. Looking great. Moving on, because we gotta talk about New York teams again. Because, you know what, if there's 2 great things that's coming out of the rivalry that is the Subway Series of New York, the Nets and Knicks, of course, is the fact that, number one, we're getting great Knicks basketball, which is always great, as LeBron James said, because it's the Mecca, it's New York. But also, The trolling is at an all-time high. The Knicks are making the cover of the Shout Out New York Post, the Daily News, all the New York newspapers and press is going wild. It's a field day. And then all of a sudden, the Nets, their big three, ends up on the cover of the New Yorker. And James Harden shares it on Twitter. I'm not trying to say that he being petty, but we all know James Harden don't tweet that much. And why is he sharing the New Yorker's cover, man?
The interesting thing about that is that full New Yorker cover has the Nets' big three of KD, Kyrie, and James Harden as huge. And then on that same cover, below them in little players are Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. And when James shared the picture on Twitter, they were clearly cropped out. The Knicks guys weren't there in the photo, and he kept his guys. I was like, "Oh, is James shading the Knicks? Whatever." Let me tell you something right now. New York media, and we are in the media, but there's certain of our colleagues, they want this to happen so bad, and New York City wants it so bad. They want this to be a rivalry. But here's the thing: it's only going to be a rivalry, Jenna, if both teams are good at the same time. Now, the Nets are a title contender. The Knicks are not that, but they're very good, right? Solid playoff team. But they have to actually play each other in the playoffs and have some battles for it to become a rivalry. It can't just be we're trolling each other on the back pages and on Twitter. That's cool for the fans to laugh at and tell jokes. But for it to become a true NBA rivalry, they have to play each other in some playoff series and battle and have some people get their feelings hurt and some guys getting close and talking smack to each other. Now that could happen. It is possible.
Maybe in a few tweets.
Exactly, that could happen. Right, the way that the structure of the playoffs set up right now, they could end up facing each other. We shall see. But we're a long way away from being an actual rivalry.
Gotta love it though. The NBA stays entertaining per usual, and man, it is ever changing, literally. And that's the thing when we work. So we work in the news, but you can't go by anything you just saw a day ago. You actually have to be on it 24/7. And lucky for you guys, we are, because we're going to be helping you right here throughout the playoffs. Stay with us, guys. We are only going to be pumping out more and more episodes as we get down to the wire. Right, Jarod?
No doubt, folks. You know where to find us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We are on Twitter at 7verspod, on Instagram at 7verspodcast, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemon Selling. We will see you guys next week. Regular season winding down. Playoffs coming. Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what some man gon' do? Chevy told me come